Hey guys, I want to do a video today. It's Deep Pockets here. One of the questions I get is how do I become an owner-operator? What do I need to do to be an owner-operator? This is going to be probably a multiple parts video, 2 or 3 parts. I don't know. Depends on. I'm sitting in line here waiting to get called in, so if I get a phone call and interrupt this video, I'll just have to end it there abruptly and do a part 2. But so you want to be an owner-operator, okay? First thing is you obviously, to be an owner-operator, already have 2 years over-the-road experience, or driving school plus 1 year over the road counts as 2. They count the CDL driving school as a year, usually. But the number one thing before anybody ever considers being an owner-operator, you need to know some basic things to be set up for success. First and foremost, do you know how to work on a truck? Do you know how to change an alternator, change a light bulb? I'm not saying you got to be able to rebuild the engine, rebuild the transmission, but you need to be able to do basic diagnostics of electrical shorts. Lights are going funky. If you're the type of person that's going to take everything to the truck stop shop, just trust me, your maintenance costs are going to be huge. Case in point, yesterday I had a breakdown. I pulled in to get loaded. I just had my trailer in the shop and went through the entire trailer, brakes and lights, and I had them extend the glad hands out because my header board on my tarp, the glad hands were so close I couldn't get it. It was a real pain. So I told them put some extenders on there just to stick them out a little further where I can plug them right in. One of the fittings that they used to extend that out, literally it was a coupling, a double female coupling. It literally just popped. It split right down the side, opened up. I'm whizzing air out the side like crazy. I could barely roll my truck. I'm in the plant getting loaded. I had to call a service call out. 5-minute fix, one little 1/2-inch pipe fitting. That's all I needed, but I didn't have it. I had no access to it. So I had to call a service call out. Told him, took a picture, showed him exactly what I needed. He comes out, like I said, 5 minutes. It took longer to do the billing than it did to fix the truck. That bill cost me $300, $295 and some change. That's the kind of stuff you're going to run into. Carry some basics in your truck. I couldn't have known that I was going to need that particular 1/2-inch fitting. But as far as airlines, I've got 1/4-inch fittings, 3/8, 1/2-inch, 3/4. You got all different size airlines on this truck. You carry stuff like that. So if you blow an airline going down the road, you got little tricks you can do. You've got to be able to work on a truck. One of the things I've done the most over the years driving down the road is blow a pancake, blow it on the brake chamber. It's whizzing out air. What do? Oh my God. Most people would pull over and call a service call. Well, what I'm suggesting you do isn't necessarily fitting all the guidelines that are out there, so to speak, but what you do is you take 2 quarters, just to keep it simple, 50 cents, and a pair of vice grips, and I can get that truck to the shop. Almost every brake comes with a bolt on the side for caging the brake chamber. Anybody who knows how to do that, there's videos on how to do that. Very simple. Stick it in, twist it, and run her down, and it pulls the spring back, cages the brake, and opens it up, deactivates that brake. Now you got air whizzing out because of the pancake. Whether it's obviously it's on the emergency side, not the service side. So it's just whizzing air out when you can't hold air going down the road. So you take those 2 quarters, stick them on the airline, and you take your vice grips and you pinch that airline. Now that shuts that brake off totally, and it holds your air in your air system so all your other brakes work, so you can safely limp it to the shop. Now, that's not DOT legal to do that, but every truck driver out here worth his salt has done it at one time or another. That's what you do. You get to the shop and you spend $100 on a brake chamber, probably another $100 for someone to put the brake chamber on. Myself, I got a brake chamber in my side box. I know exactly the 2 different models of brake chamber. I've got the 30s and the 40s. So I have one of each in my side box. I even carry an airbag in my side box. I can do it right on the side of the road. Now, I've been in the business long enough, I don't like to do that. I'll take it to the shop. So, I don't care to get my hands dirty and crawling around on the ground, especially in the wintertime. But you need to be able to do your basic repairs. You're going to need a really good toolkit and a basic knowledge on how to do wiring, how to, the ground and, the 3 color codes on the wires. And, when you can safely do that, you're on the right track. You need to set up in your area an account with a local garage, not a dealership. Do not take your trucks to a dealership to be worked on. They will rape you. They They charge what the book says. The alternator, the book might say, oh, the computer says it takes 3 hours to change an alternator. If they're going to charge you what the computer says, even though it took them 15 freaking minutes, they're going to charge you that 3 hours because that's what the computer says. No, you find you a good mechanic. I call them shade tree mechanics, but typically nowadays they're not quite shade tree mechanics, but it's an independent mechanic that's got his own shop, 2 or 3 bays, 4 bays, whatever. There's a couple of shops in my area. One of them's got like 12 bays, and they're getting to the point now where you call them up and they can't get you in for 2 weeks. I've set up accounts elsewhere. I actually set up an account at a dealership, Stoops Freightliner, for my trailer, just because they guaranteed me that when I call them for a repair, they'll fit me in as fast as possible, get me rolling, and get me back out on the road. And they don't charge what the computer says; they charge what it takes them to do it. And they're very transparent in their repairs. So I set up an account with them so that I could be able to pick my trailers up after hours and not have to worry about paying the bill. But you're going to need a good truck shop to fix your truck. Your truck needs to be right before you leave out. If it's not right, don't leave out. Get it to the shop, get the parts, get it fixed. You break down out here on the road and you are going to spend a small fortune trying to fix that truck. Have a local shop, get it taken care of. Now, if you're running cross country, you really have no options. I mean, if you're running all over the Midwest and you break down on the road, Google search truck shops, mobile services, whatever. Don't take it to a dealership. You'll be much better off to find a local shop full of good old boys that'll get that truck in there and get it right, or at least get it patched up to where you can finish the trip and get it home this weekend, take it in the shop and do it right. But just little things like that. Just to get started, you're going to need, as a first-time truck buyer, most lenders are going to require a minimum 20% down. So obviously, what kind of truck do you want to buy? Well, you don't want to go out and buy a brand new one because they're $230,000, $240,000 for a truck. I could afford that, but I still would never in a million years go buy a new truck. I won't even buy a good used truck. I keep my truck, which is, it's 2013. I got a 24-year-old now, 24-year-old engine in it. You can rebuild these engines definitely, y'all. Tell you the crack blocks, that engine can be rebuilt. Run it. These old trucks are more reliable, the old engines anyway. This truck, the 2013, I mean, once I got that DEF engine out and put the old engine in, this truck, it gives me no more trouble than a 2015, 2019, or a 1999. They're all going to have the same basic maintenance issues. Now, the older the truck, you're going to have different stuff pop up, little things. But the older trucks, let's just say 2007 and older, because in 08's when they started doing the whole DPF, and then I think it was 2011, 2012, they went DPF and DEF. So DPF is diesel particulate filter, and then DEF is the diesel exhaust fluid injection in the diesel particulate filter. It is a absolute horrible design that has 100 sensors, or I don't know how many sensors, but let's just say safely 10 or 15 different sensors, that any one of those little sensors is a point of failure. Every time one of them goes and hiccups, shut the truck down, derate it, no power, get it to the shop. You cannot drive that truck until someone hooks a computer up and resets that. The code has to come back that repair has been done, that there's no more faults. Then it will allow them to reset it, and now you can drive the truck again. This old 24-year-old N14 Select Plus that I've got will run till it eats itself alive. The only thing that will shut this engine down is low oil pressure, high water temp, low water level. Anything other than that, this engine will run until it blows. And they run forever. The tolerances are so much, they're just better tolerances, less mechanical mechanisms, because they don't have all the strange particulates that they got to take care of, and the exhaust emissions, and bleh. This thing will run and run and run and run. I see new trucks on the side of the road all day long, broke down, hood up, tow trucks towing them. My 24-year-old engine just keeps right on rolling down the road. It'll run until it blows. Then I'll rebuild it and run it for another, if you take care of your engine, 1.2, 1.4, I've seen them go 1.8 million miles before they got to be overhauled. I mean, take care of it. Change the oil, make sure it's always got its fluids, and don't run the piss out of it. Pardon my language, don't run the snot out of it. Most important thing with these diesels is let them warm up in the morning. I will not move my truck. Moving around the parking lot's one thing, but I will not get it out on the road and put pressure on that motor until my water temp is at least 100 degrees. Not the oil temp, the water temp. Oil temp's going to heat up faster because that engine heats up. The water is outside of that, so that water temp is reading on the top of the engine. When that water temp hits 100 degrees, your oil temp's probably going to be 115, 120 degrees. At that point, everything is warmed up enough, and the expansion, say it's 4 degrees outside, that steel's expanded, expanded because it's frozen. Well, everything's loosening back up, lubricated, and back in its, tolerances. Don't ever drive a truck cold. Let it warm up. That's your number one wear on an engine. This is one of those little tidbits of information. Lucas Oil Stabilizer. The number one wear of any engine, gasoline, diesel, does not matter. Startup. All your oil sitting in the bottom. The oil has drained off your cylinder walls, your rings, everything, your bearings, everything. Oil has drained off of them. So that first seconds when you start that engine and that oil pump starts shooting oil all the way to the top of the motor for it to start raining down and lubricate everything, that's where, safe figure is 80% of your engine wear comes from startups, cold startups. Even in the summertime, all the oil sitting in the bottom. Wintertime doesn't matter. Wintertime, it's a little bit longer because the oil's colder and it takes longer to pump it. But that Lucas Oil Stabilizer puts a stickiness and a gumminess in that oil. You'll see it. You'll see the little 3-wheeled, toy things at the oil change places where you roll the regular oil and you can see that it's sticking to the gears, but then you roll the Lucas wheel and you see that oil's making that line. It's just stickier. So it's kind of like the old Castrol did one called Slick 50 years ago that you could put for gasoline, especially formulated for gasoline engines. What that's designed to do is put that film on all your parts so that it minimizes your dry startup. So even though your oil has leaked down, you still have residue, slickness in your cylinder walls for those rings to go up and down. I swear by it. I've run trucks. I've had, I think, 12, 13, I have to sit down and think about it. I've had 12 or 13 trucks because I got a specific formula of how I buy them, which I'll put in another, the next part of this. But I've never rebuilt an engine, y'all. I sell my trucks around 1.2 million miles. 25 years as an owner-operator. 5 years before that, but 25 years as an owner-operator, never rebuilt a motor. Take care of them. They'll run and run and run and run. But so you need a basic knowledge of how to work on them. You're going to need 10% down, so don't buy anything new. These new trucks are garbage. I wouldn't buy. If you don't mind running ELD, because I like running paper, so my engine or my truck or both is going to be 1999 or older. Or a glider, I could buy a 2019, 2020 truck. They still make glider kits, even though people say they had to stop making them. That's not true. They still make them. They're just only allowed to make a certain amount. And now there's loopholes to get around that. They order a truck and they pull the engine out of that truck and they convert it like I did. They convert it and put an older engine in that truck, like an 07 or older, and build it into a glider kit. And they take that new engine and part it out, sell it as a whole motor, whatever. They're not buying the truck as glider kits. They're building them into glider kits. Loophole in the law. There's a way around everything. These guys, they know what they're doing. They got it figured out. But the truck itself's not going to cause you too much trouble. It's the particulates, the emissions stuff on the truck. It's going to cause nothing but problems. Is it going to clean the air? Yeah, cleaner exhaust. Yeah, no problem. But is it going to shut you down and cost you tens of thousands of dollars regularly to keep that truck running? Absolutely. Your maintenance cost on one of these trucks that has DPF DEF, or just DPF, 08 to 2010, but anything running DEF is going to cost you a small fortune to keep running. But quick aside, when you have a breakdown, it's not just the cost of repair. It's the loss of income, the loss of revenue from losing loads, losing time, waiting to get your truck fixed. On top of the repair bill, the parts, the labor, and all of that. So your repair bill, say it cost you, they took it in shop, couldn't find this sensor, so they replaced the injector on the DEF injector, and then they replaced the pump, and blah, 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 blah. It cost $6,000. Okay, no, it didn't. It cost $6,000 plus you were in a shop for a week. your average, say you make, you're grossing $6,000-7,000 a week, that just cost you $12,000. That wasn't a $6,000 repair, 12. Loss of revenue is real, folks, and it adds up real fast. You do not want downtime. You want reliable equipment that's going to stay running and minimize your downtime. Let alone the fact that these older engines, Cummins, Detroit, the Cummins N14 Select Plus, the Detroit 12.7 liter Series 60 Detroit, and the Cat 3406E model are the 3 best engines ever made. I don't care what anybody says, they are the best engines ever made as far as maintenance cost, operating cost, reliability and longevity of the motor. Best ever made. You can get any one of those 3 motors, you're set up. That's what you need. Doesn't matter what year the truck is. The truck is just a truck. The trucks are fine. Kenworth, Peterbilt, Freightliner, Volvo, they're all fine. The trucks are fine. It's the emissions control devices on those trucks that make them garbage. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot stick. As of right now, I would either buy, if I had to say start over for my truck, I would either buy a glider kit or a truck that's 1990. Well, I don't like running E-log, so I would buy 99 or older. But if you don't mind running E-log, or you're with a company that says you have to have E-log regardless, then you can go all the way up to a 2007. Because, your 2007 ISX is going to have an EGR valve, but that EGR valve's fine. It doesn't, once a year, maybe it'll clog up. You got to change it, $600-700, no big deal. It's the DEF you don't want. It's the DPF you don't want. But anyway, yeah, we'll make that part 1, just what your basics of what you need to get started. I'll do another video.